Alright, what's up guys? So as you can see, we're doing Python. So this is a series that has been kind of requested non-stop. Basically everyone wanted it to be live streamed. I plan on doing that eventually, but that's going to take a lot more time because instead of doing a 10-minute video, I have to do hours of content planned ahead, okay? So what we're going to cover here is basically I'm going to get you guys started on Python. I'm not a Python expert. I don't code every day, all day, like some people do. I use it, but I don't use it nonstop, and it's not my only job. So, stop. So my dog's gonna bother me. But anyway, so you guys will definitely get the understanding of Python, the basics and things like that. But you will notice I reference things. I look at different material as we go. Excuse me, because there are things that I forget about Python. Because like I said, I don't use it every day. So first thing, python.org. If you're on a Windows machine, you can download it here. I'm not going to link it. It's python.org. It's literally that. It's download Windows. Boom. You have Python 3. Um, so to cover Python, a lot of code is still written in Python 2. So there are a few differences. I'm not going to cover those in this. The main reason is because Python 3 is out, and basically almost everything in Python 2, if there's a compatibility issue, it's one little thing, and I wouldn't. You just would have to research it and find out. So, but with that said, let's go ahead and get started. So here is what you're going to download from python.org. This is just a shell. So if I just say print, your typical hello world, and we just do that, it's just a shell. So it's hello world, okay? We're going to use this, but instead, to show, we're going to use new file. And I will be separating these into kind of do-it-yourself things. I have, actually, I'll open it on the other screen so I can see it, but I have other Python chapters and stuff like that that I want to show. So these are a couple, just a couple of things that I've opened. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to write our first script. If any of you guys are first basically program. If any of you guys have ever done any programming at all, you know that pretty much the Hello World is the notorious first program. If you don't know, that's awesome. So this is something I want you guys to practice non-stop, okay? And you don't have to, I guess, but this is what I do. Even writing a script that I know exactly what it's going to do, very, very small. So first thing I'm going to do is put a hashtag and say this program is our first Hello World program. Now, you don't have to do that, but I recommend you do it on every program. The reason for that is it gets you in the habit of sitting there and commenting. Start doing what's this do? What does this do? What does this function do? Things like that for people that are reading the code, okay? It's not for you. It's for whoever reads this code in the future. So, first thing we're going to do is print, and we're just going to say, hello world. This is our first script. Or, I keep wanting to say script because I did a bash scripting tutorial. This is our first program. Okay, and then we're going to just go ahead and period. And now with Python, you can actually use the hashtag. So we'll go ahead and do another one. And we'll use quotations. Okay, see how there's a space? You can use a space or you cannot. So we'll use quotations. Stop. My dog is driving me nuts. Hello world. This is our second program, if you will. Even though it's not actually technically the second program, it's fine. And you can see, if you notice, look, I put a single quotation because I'm used to it. And you notice it doesn't actually end that. So you have to actually put that. So the point of that is, if you use single quotations for your quotes, you have to continue to use single quotations, okay, to end it. Now, if you use double quotations, you have to use a double quotation to end it. There's some advantages and non-advantages to both. The advantage to the double quotes is if I need a comma, or I mean a apostrophe in here, I can use it. The disadvantage of these then is that if I need apostrophe in here, I would have to do something special to get it. We'll cover that later. Now the same thing with this one. If I wanted to use actual quotations, I could do that up here. Down here, I would have to do something special. So now let's just go ahead and run this. So, and this will run it in the source must be saved. Okay, we'll go ahead and save it. And it always opens where you were. We'll just save it as hello world 1 because I already have. So you can see here, that's the first thing it did. Hello world, this is our first program. Hello world, this is our second program. Perfect. So it printed it exactly like we wanted. That's awesome. So now let's go ahead and open it again. All right. So let's cover a couple of different things in this lesson. This is to get your guys' hands on. Definitely write this program because it is the first step in programming. You need to just take that leap, okay? Sounds stupid, looks stupid. Trust me, it gets you going. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to basically get rid of these prints, okay? So we're going to cover, first thing we're going to cover is variables, and then we'll probably cover variables and a couple other things, and then we'll probably call this lesson because I want you guys to practice, okay? Because the more you practice, the better you're going to be, okay? So we purposely left those out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a variable. So a variable is very simple, basically just a symbol, if you will. So for instance, let's say we wanted this to be called, this specific line to be called first program. So we'll just do first, and then we'll do equals, and that's what it equals, okay? So as you can see, it's literally going to equal that. So what that means is that just stores it in the name first, okay? So now anytime we type first in the proper syntax, it's going to call upon this, okay? So it stores it. So what we're going to do, now keep in mind, one thing I do want to say just for this lesson, or for these lessons, excuse me, is there are ways to do things more efficiently and a little cleaner in certain instances, and I'm not doing them on purpose. So don't, before people start blasting and saying like, oh, you could do it this way and it's way faster and looks better, I understand that. What I'm doing is I'm teaching it in a way that makes sense, that's easier, and then we'll get in the more advanced writing later. Okay, so we'll name this one second. Okay, and keep in mind, Python is case sensitive. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and run this and see what does it do. Does it do anything? Let's see. So we have to save it first, and then we'll run it. Okay, so you notice it did nothing. So the reason for that is because while we did save them, we never called upon them. Okay, so what's that mean? It means we have to still print and then put in there what we actually need, right? So we want print first, okay? And then we can do print second. So now that, that'll go away, there we go. Now it'll still do the same thing as our first one. Okay, the exact same program. The difference is what we can do, and the reason people do this is it's much, much cleaner, okay? So the reason for that is we could have a section where we actually label all of our, basically all of our variables here, and then we can just say, okay, print, do this, print, whatever the case may be. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create that now. So we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to show you guys kind of how this works. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to number them 1. So 1, and we'll say it's the, okay? Now we're going to say 2 is cat, 3 equals is, and you notice I put a space right there. So you're going to want a space either there or on the back end of them. And you'll see why here in a sec. So we'll put a space on the back end. So the reason for that is that we're going to basically create a sentence, okay? So now we'll do 4 equals, we'll say orange, right? Space, or actually that's the end of the sentence, so we'll just do that, okay? Now, so each one of those is a different variable. So what that means is, if we typed print, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's not going to do anything, okay? Because that's not the proper syntax. When you're doing this, basically what you're going to do, is you're going to do 1 plus 2, okay, plus 3 plus 4, okay? And that's going to actually print. Go ahead and save it, even because we'll probably just get rid of this. You can see the cat is orange. It prints it as a sentence. Now, if we didn't put those spaces in here, and this is why detail is very important in Python, just like any other language. If you don't put those spaces at the end there, it'll just print them all as one word. It'll basically say the cat is orange with no spaces, okay? So that's important. Now, obviously, you could make that one sentence, whatever. If we change the order of these, if we did 2, 1, 3, 4, whatever, it's going to be out of order. But the point is, that's how a variable works. Now, I'm trying to keep these about 15 minutes, so I'm going to show you guys a couple of more things that basically you can ways to store variables. Okay, so we'll leave that, but I'm going to show you guys something different. So, a pretty cool thing that you can do is you can print, and you can actually say, let's do it this way. Let's just get rid of this because we're not going to use that sentence anymore, right? So let's create a simple script that you guys can create, and this is how you can practice, okay? So you can say print, and we'll say, hey, comma, what is your name? Okay? And then, so a way to store another variable is, okay, so we'll say name equals input, okay? And you make sure you have the actual close parentheses there, okay? So now it will actually store whatever you type in as the name variable, okay? So now when you call upon it, so now we'll say print, we'll say hello space plus name, okay, plus space how are you doing, or not even that, welcome to our Python course. Okay, now keep in mind this is a very simple format here, but you can do an insane amount of stuff with just those commands right there, okay? So watch, run. Hey, what is your name? We'll just say Zach. Hello, Zach. Welcome to our Python course. So that looks very, very basic, right? And it is basic. But keep in mind how much you can do with this stuff. So what I mean by that, we're not going to cover input validation stuff in this one. We're just going to cover this right now, the variables, because I want you guys to mess around with variables, name things, different variables. Understand they are case sensitive, so it's important. And we're going to cover more in depth of the variables and stuff, but I want you guys to practice this week. That's kind of my whole thing, is I want everyone to practice these very basic things. But to give you an idea of things you can do with this, obviously, input validation, what that is basically, right now, name is going to just save it as input, right? If you type a random letters that don't make any sense, it's still going to count that as a name. So it's still going to say, hello, blah, 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 welcome, right? So that's input validation would be, make sure it's an actual name, make sure it's actual letters, things like that. But we're not going to worry about that right now. But the point is, with just this, if you ever played those games back in the day where it was like there's two caves, one's a dark cave, one's a light cave, which one do you want to go in? This is how they did it. So your input would be, so for instance, I don't know if you remember, we'll go ahead and make it real quick just to show you guys so you can mess around with it today and figure out what you want to do, right? So we'll just do print, and let's say there are two caves in front of you. One is dark and one has a light. Okay? No problem. Then what we'll do is we'll actually print, we'll say print, and you don't have to do this. Keep in mind, like I said, you can actually skip this, and we'll say, which cave do you choose? And we can say light or dark. Okay, now keep in mind I'm just writing this. Obviously, you can make this much, much better. So now we'll say choice equals cave, or caves. I looked at my dog. Equals input. Okay. Now whatever they choose, light or dark, we'll choose what they do. Now, how do we do that? We'll basically say if choice equals, okay, and you have to do double on, and this is getting a little bit more advanced, not really advanced, but for this lesson. But I want to show you this so that you guys can mess around with it and kind of have more to do this week. So if choice equals light, then you have to put those there, okay? So we have to first, you have to make sure you put the quotations. The reason for that is it needs to know basically that's a string, okay? So if your choice equals light, then we're going to do this. Print, we'll just say, good choice. This cave has gold for you. Good job. Okay. Now, obviously, you can get a lot more in depth with this. Okay. Now, I'm not going to show you guys, or I'll show you guys a couple things. You can say elif, which is basically like another if. Okay. Choice equals dark. Then we're going to say print a bear attacked you and you died. Okay, now else, so if anything other than those two choices is printed, or I mean is chosen, so if you type in, XYZ, right, which this is where a little bit of validation comes in, we'll say print that is an incorrect choice, try again. Okay, now you can see the only commands I really used here was print and input. Yes, I used if and else statements, but we'll cover those more in depth as we go on. But you can see that's pretty much all I did. Now we'll save this and we'll run it. Okay, there are two caves in front of you. Which cave do you choose? So if we choose light, good choice. The cave has gold. Awesome. So now if we run it again and we choose dark, a bear attacked and you died. Okay, awesome. So we already have a little game, and you can, as we'll dive in later, you can import things that allow it to be random. So the light cave and the dark cave might be random. So you might just have to say choose one or two, and you don't know which one you're going to get. That's a random game. So now we'll do it again, and this time we'll just put Zach. That's an incorrect choice. Try again. So that's a little bit input validation. It ensures that they're selecting what we want. So do what you guys will with that. Mess around with it. And look at this simple program. We made it in 3 minutes or something. But you can make this go forever with a tree of options and have people try and get to the end. That's just a little game you can play. You can do it for all kinds of stuff. But I want you guys this week to mess around with variables, understand how they're saved like this. Also, another thing to keep in mind in Python, if I printed a variable, right? See, it says choice equals input, and then I did choice equals, and I said Bob. Okay. Once this gets to this point, that choice will actually be changed, okay? So print choice, okay? Now keep this in mind because you can actually overwrite if you need to. So we'll run it. We'll say light, okay? And then you notice at the end it just prints Bob because I said print choice. The reason that's important is because, you can change variables later if you need to, later in your script if things are changing, if the game's changing, whatever the case may be. You can actually change them. That's important to know, okay? The reason that's important to know also is because you can't basically put choice equals blank and then choice equals blank and expect it. It's always going to be the last thing that you chose depending on what you're doing, okay? So those can change. So we'll go ahead and say this. And that's going to do it for this lesson, guys. This is a very, very basic lesson. I just want you to give you guys a little something to mess around with, to kind of create something, and then hopefully you guys actually start messing around with it, get in there, and then probably next week or so we will actually start really diving into more of the actual meat and potatoes of Python, different types of variables, the strings, integers, types of things like that, all kinds of stuff. There's so much to cover that I just want to give you guys something that kind of like is kind of something that you can actually still mess with and still play around with and still make something out of it. So that's going to do it for this lesson, guys. Let me know if you guys are liking this series. If you guys don't care about Python, let me know that too, and tell me what you guys do care about, and we'll try and get something like that in. All right, thanks.